Hey guys, this is Kirat and welcome back to another video. Today, yet again, I have someone really inspiring and humble on my channel. Ayush Soni is a MIT Manipal and Cornell University alumnus, and today we're going to be talking about a lot of interesting topics. Some of them being, does CGPA really matter in India? How did he crack internships at Microsoft, Amazon in Manipal, and then eventually a job at Google in the US? We're also going to talk about his entire Ivy League experience and draw a comparison between placements in India and placements in the US. This video has a lot of lessons for you if you're a college fresher getting into college this year, or even if you're a college senior looking to make it big in the world of corporate. So make sure you listen carefully, sit back, relax, enjoy the video. So, hi Ayush, welcome to the channel. Can you please introduce yourself for the viewers?
So yes, hi, I'm Ayush. I've done my bachelor's in Manipal, and I immediately went to my master's at Cornell, my MNG, and then I've been working for the past year as a software engineer at Google. So that's a very quick introduction professionally.
So we'll get into all those 3 points that you just said in detail in this interview. So starting off with my first question. So you graduated from MIT Manipal in 2018, the year I joined Manipal actually. So how would you describe your entire experience at MIT Manipal?
I suddenly feel so old, but yes, my experience with of Manipal was great. I think Manipal was a really great school, all in all. But the expectations that I had of Manipal were much lesser in the beginning. The reason being that I have an elder brother who's like always outperforming me.
The audience already relates with you.
So the expectations are always, I think we let our expectations be to be set by the people around us very often. And I think that's what I was doing wrong. And so and he was studying from Pilani, and so I was somewhere in my mind I had this feeling that hey, I should end up at Pilani, and then ending up at Manipal. I wasn't having very high expectations, but I had it in my mind that I had to make the best of what I have at this point. Uh, yeah, so but the experience was, yeah, as I said, it was great. I had like a fantastic peer group there.
So I think like a lot of students would agree on you that the expectations before we join Manipal, or if you take any other popular private universities as well. So we already have like a low expectation because we don't dream of coming to this university 2 years back when we are preparing for all these competitive exams. But yeah, even I was surprised when I came to Manipal that it's actually a great place.
Yep.
So
I think,
now,
yeah, I think Manipal has really done wonders for me. There are just some things that I learned from Manipal I probably wouldn't be able to learn in other places.
So, my second question for you is that how important is keeping a good GPA and CGPA in college? I saw that you scored a really good 9.2 on 10 pointer in college. So, and like, how did you manage your time between studies, extracurriculars, and then spending time with your friends?
I think GPA was just a byproduct of a lot of things, but it is not something I primarily focused on in college. So what happened was I never really was like a grader throughout my school life, like high school life. But when it came to college and the first semester went by and I ended up with a 9.6 somehow. I don't know how, but that happened. So, and I actually did not believe that I did get that score. And neither did my parents. And they were like, "Did you open someone else's portal that you're showing someone else's score?" But that is where my belief was at that point, and I was like, maybe I cannot do this. But slowly over the time I felt like, you know what, maybe it's not all a fluke. But yeah, and then so I would study usually only before the exams, and I had like a fantastic study group. Me and few of my flatmates, batchmates would all gather together before the exams, and we'd discuss questions. We study parts of a chapter and discuss that. So I think GPA is something that is important, but it is not something that you need to just keep focusing on in school. I think if you have something you're passionate about, that is something that you should definitely follow, and that would take you much further than any GPA would. Yeah, so that's where I think GPA stands for me. It's just a very good backup to have.
Oh, so like as you said, like you studied only before exams. So I think like this is a common trait that all engineering students share, that we don't like usually study in class. We just study with our friends. We always have that one friend who makes all the notes and everything. So that's how it goes.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, I think that is true. But yeah, I think having a study group is like a really useful tool to have just before the exams. The study group, like, of course, you have friends, you chill out with them, you enjoy, you spend time, and then, but at the same time, you also have so much, like, too many people at work at the same time, and they would all discuss at the end. So it really helps a lot. You can end up doing things so much faster than you can usually. We'd actually discuss this between exams also, because I think there's sometimes two exams on the same day and there's just a small gap in
Yeah,
between, and
yeah.
we'd have
Yeah.
chapters left for that, right? So we'd quickly study some chapters, teach each other, and then yeah, that's how it would go. So I don't think I focus on GPA too much, but at the same time, you should make sure that you have a very good extracurricular profile also. Making sure that you're actively taking part into clubs at Manipal, which you strongly feel about. It could be a social one, it could be a purely tech club. But yeah, you should focus on other things as well and building your profile overall.
So, what type of clubs did you join when you were in Manipal?
So being a computer science student, I think the first club I joined was IECSE, and I think I going slow. I didn't want to join too many at once. I think that's the only one I joined for the first 2 years. I was, I think, briefly part of other clubs. I do not remember right now, but yeah. And then in my final 2 years, I was in ACM Manipal, and I
Okay.
think it was just founded then. It was a great experience to be a part of both of the clubs.
I saw that you interned at Microsoft and Amazon during your third and final year, respectively. So, can you share that? How did you crack these internships? Like, what was the key factor involved?
Right. So I think a lot of factors came into play, but the key factors would be perseverance and belief. The Microsoft internship. So let me tell you a brief story of what happened with the Microsoft internship. So there was a screening competition where they give 3 questions in the beginning, and whoever does the 3 questions, or com- comparatively good, well, he would end up in the next batch of the screening test. But the people who really do good on that screening, the first screening test, directly get into the placement interviews, the in-person interviews, and I was somehow in the top 5, which were directly taken to the in-person interviews, and I was kind of feeling like an imposter at that moment, because I did not believe that, because in college you keep hearing that this person's really great at coding and that person's really great at coding, but you never really know because there's no real test between anyone,
Yeah.
right? And then at the end, when there was a screening test, I thought that, whoa, maybe I made it by a fluke. So I actually ended up screwing that interview. I didn't give it that very well because I was still in two minds. Um, but yeah, that made me realize that maybe I am something. Maybe I can do much better than what I used to believe, right? And then on the next day, there was this is about the third year. So this is about how I got the Amazon Microsoft internship, and then I think this is second year end. But yes, so what happened was that I actually accidentally gave the placement interview for Amazon when I was not eligible for
Oh.
that. So yeah, so I had only one option left, and that was, I had other options, but the only one of the good options was Microsoft GSMO internship, and it was my brother who constantly gave me this, that what, you have it in you, don't think the other way. And so I would call him before every interview almost, and before the Microsoft interview for GSMO, this is not IDC. For the people who don't know, GSMO is Global Sales and Marketing Org, but they still do development, and IDC is the purely development part of Microsoft. So yeah, so he called me and we were talking, and I was discussing that, do I really want to go here? And he was like, do you think you should do this? And I was like, maybe I can do this. Maybe I should take up GSMO, because now that I don't have the option for Amazon, I should go to Microsoft. And so yes, I took it up, and it was a great experience. And similarly with the Amazon internship, when I came back from the Microsoft, I think the placements had started, and I had 2 days to prepare. I think Amazon is the first few companies to come to the campus, and just after Cisco. And I had this option to sit for Cisco or not, because if I sit for Cisco and do get selected, you cannot sit for the Amazon P or I
Yeah.
offers. So yeah, that's when I had to make a decision, and that's when I had to choose to let go of Cisco's placements because I did not sit for it. And and because I wanted to go for the Amazon internship with my best. So yeah, I gave the Amazon internship and the test, and they did ask me, in fact, that how did you like how well are you prepared for this? And I told them that, you know what, to be very honest with you, so this could go any way. So if you're saying this in a internship interview or any interview, if this could go either way. But I said that, you know what, I have only 2 days. I had only 2 days to prepare for this, and I have this skipped the Cisco interview. So yeah, I think somehow that must have played an important part into getting the internship, other than my coding skills. But yeah, they did give me an internship offer, and later on that internship did get converted into placement also. So yeah, that's
Oh,
the story about the Amazon and Microsoft internship.
So
GPAs
those
do
are
play an
some
important role.
interesting stories.
Yeah, yeah. The GPAs also play an important part, but I think what's important is how you present yourself in an interview, regardless of what your GPA is and what your skills are. If you're even, I mean, they just need to see the fact that you're actually, if you're in an interview and you can really, you really care about this, and you can really give in the effort that is needed to get the job. You know.
So I think those are some really nice tips. Will surely help the students watching this video, because most of them will be applying for these internships in the future as well.
Yeah. All the best to them.
So now coming to your masters. So you pursued your masters in computer science from Cornell University, which we all know is a very highly reputed Ivy League university in the US. So how was your experience at Cornell like, and how did you get into Cornell in the first place?
Yeah. So so how I applied to Cornell. Let's start with that. So what happened was, when I was in the Amazon internship, it was an internship offer, and I was still working hard to get a placement offer from them. But I was still uncertain that it's not 100% sure that you would get a placement offer. It's usually 90% sure that you would if you do well.
okay.
So my brother said that, why don't you do this? You just apply to the best universities you think you want to go to, and let's just see, if in case you get it, fine. In case you don't, we'll go 2 years from now and we'll find some other offer, in the worst case, if you don't have Amazon. So that happened, and then it so happened that everything worked, and Cornell gave an offer, Amazon gave a placement offer,
Oh,
Oh,
but my brother suggested that you have to take up Cornell. So that's how I ended up at Cornell. uh, and yeah, so that was a big leap, because, coming from a point where you don't know if you can get Microsoft or Amazon, and then getting both, and then moving on to something that is like leaving everything you got and then starting from, stage zero again.
yeah.
But yeah, I thought that maybe it's a very good opportunity to go to Cornell and like get the exposure. So yeah, experience in Cornell was definitely a lot of exposure, a fantastic peer group, and yeah, overall it was, though it was, I think one of the important things I'd like to touch upon is also that Cornell was a 1 year program, and so you
Okay.
do not get like a lot of time to explore things, which I would really like, because Cornell has a beautiful campus, so many co-curricular activities going on. But yeah, it was a great experience. It was a very, very stressful program though, because in general, I think in a master's program you take lesser courses in a semester. In Cornell, you had more number of credits in a
Okay.
particular semester, so the studies are much tougher than usual. And yeah, and you also have to do a project in the second part instead of a thesis. But all in all, I think Cornell was a really great experience. Yeah, that's
so since you mentioned like it was a 1 year program, now like usually I've seen that the master's program is 2 years, right? So how was like moving from studying in Manipal to studying like one of the most hectic programs in a Ivy League university?
yeah, it was definitely so at this point. I think when you go to an IV, you already have this pressure on you that, you know what, the no, usual shit is not going to cut it. You need to do much more
Yeah.
than usual. So there's always like a constant driving force that you need to do something. And since it's only a 1 year program, you need to make sure that you also have a job offer in the end. So I think during my time at Amazon, after the Amazon internship ends, I used to do lead code questions from the day I got the Cornell offer, um, till the day I had the interviews. Because as soon as you join the Cornell MH program, I think the interviews are a month into the program, which is almost like it's too soon, right? I was
Yeah.
basically giving Amazon the placement interviews at Cornell with all my knowledge from Manipal, right? Because Cornell is
Oh,
just just been a month from Cornell, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a really hectic program, and to handle the placements at the same time with that was really tough. But I think yeah, you have to make with what you got.
So another point that you mentioned, that was the peer group. So I want to touch upon that. Like we all know that Ivy universities are said to have one of the best peer groups in the world. So how did studying living with that kind of a peer group change you as in terms of like your personality, knowledge, etc.?
So um, yeah, not a lot has changed, but definitely the peer group is exceptionally talented. I think more than the masters, I think the undergrad students at Cornell were super talented. The MNch had a project, and the project would be my project was on self-driving cars, and I had to work with a bunch of other students. I think each had their own thing to bring to the table, and so do you, right? Because you are in that school, and you did get selected because you have something of value to give to the others also. So it was a great experience, and you should definitely not feel like an imposter though. You have something to give to them as well. So it's like a mutually beneficial thing, of course. But yes, I met some really talented people, and I'm glad I got to experience this at Cornell. Yeah.
So, how was your experience at Cornell placements, and you know what? How do you compare that experience from what you had in India at MIT Manipal, and then what you had at Cornell?
So it was definitely very different. As I mentioned previously, I had to skip Cisco to sit for Amazon, right? And because out of the fear that if I get selected, I can't sit for Amazon. In Cornell, I think the scenario is completely different. I get much more opportunity. I can sit for as many interviews as I want. I can start like applying. You can receive as many offers as you want. Of course, you don't cancel and select the other offer in the end, but yeah, you can receive as many offers as you want, and as many as you deserve. Yeah, in fact, I had multiple offers when I was in Cornell. But yeah, it was very different. It's much more easier, much more. It's much more for the students than for the companies. I'd say that the offers at Manipal where we need to make sure that the companies are also very comfortable, because that is, I think that's just a situation between the number of the number of students available for a particular job in India versus America. Yeah.
So this is a like a huge difference between the placements that you can receive multiple offers, whereas in India you can have only one, right? So since you mentioned multiple offers, like what offers did you have at your time?
Right. So when I was at Cornell, the first offer I received was from Bloomberg. It's a FinCorp, I think, FinTech. Sorry. Then there were three offers from purely tech companies. Microsoft AI, Microsoft had this new Nerd AI program, New England Research and Development Center. That is Nerd. Nerd AI program that they were starting in Boston. So I had an offer from there, and the second offer I had was from Uber, ADG, Perception team, and the third offer I had was from Google, uh, from the system data mining team. Yeah.
So you had quite some offers and you did end up choosing Google. So now coming to my next question. So you have been working as a software engineer at the flagship Google office in Mountain View. So this is an office that I would say, a lot of students see as their dream office because we keep seeing it in the media and TV shows, movies and everywhere. So yeah, how has been your experience at this office like?
I think Google is just another like school. It's just so amazing that the culture is just. I don't think I've ever encountered this culture in the past two companies that I've worked in, or interned at. But yeah, the culture is just so different. It feels like a school. There's just so much fun going on in the office. Uh, it sometimes you can even if you indulge too much in that, you can also get swayed away from the actual work. Uh, but but yeah, it is an amazing experience. I think the fundamental qualities that differentiate these companies from the previous ones I worked at, this company from the previous ones I worked as, that Google's first focus is on engineering. Actually, the three-step policy they follow is make a very cool product, and the third one is to sell it, but the second one is to get to market, and that is something they figure out in the end. I think this is seen in a lot of their products, that they're really cool engineering products, but getting to the market is which comes the last. So it's much more engineering focused than business focused, which is not what I felt with the other ones that I've worked previously. So that is something I really like. As an engineer, you'd want to be in a place where you are the one who is, the king. The engineer is king at Google, which is what I really like. So other than that, there's the perks, of course. Google has free food, which I dearly miss. I have to cook every meal now. And just like you have these micro kitchens where you just go with other colleagues and just chill out for a while, have coffee, and then come back. Those are a few things I'd miss till the next year. But yeah, Google has an amazing campus. We have bowling alley, I think, in the office. there's
Oh,
there's there's amazing restaurant. There's 40 different restaurants at the headquarters. It's really good campus. Yeah, you should really come over to see it.
so yeah, like you must be really missing the campus, working from home and everything, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think they did a lot to make us feel like we are comfortable at home. Like they had sent a few like equipments to work from home, but I think yeah, definitely nothing that would
Can match
make
that
it just
experience.
like
Okay.
nothing can match that experience. We every there'd be like different kinds of food you'd eat, but yeah,
Okay.
and then other things also. I'm focusing on food because I'm a foodie. But yeah, there's a lot of things, and just meeting people, that's and the office. Actually, everyone is very welcoming. Everyone at Google is a coffee away, and that's how they say it. So you can talk to anyone you want, and you can just go hit them up and be like, hey, you know what, I want to learn this from you. They're really welcoming with that, and that I think these things really set them apart from. Many would say that this is there, but it's not actually a part of their culture. But at Google, I think there's more to the culture than they actually say, which is what's really important.
Okay, so yeah, that's really awesome. My last question for you is that after this entire Cornell and Google flagship experience in computer science, what would you say are like the most important skills a student should possess if he or she aspires to apply or work in these companies in the future, like Google's, the Microsoft, and the Apples of the world?
Right. So I'll get to a point. I'll answer it directly later, but more to start with more indirect answer, I'd say that the most important thing that one should have is belief in themselves. That's something I've built over time. God forbid, like say for some reason I have to find another job tomorrow, then I know that I have it in myself that I can do anything that I need to get another job, and that is something that is very important. You can pick up any skill if you know that you can do it, and I think that is how I ended up with the offers that I did, and that is what you really need to show also in the interviews. Coming to answering it more directly, I think of the all the experiences that I had in past, uh, learning from them, I'd say that what's really important is to keep practicing your coding skills. Not You don't have to do like 100 questions from Lead Code or Geeks for Geeks in a single day or in a single week. In fact, what I used to do was I'd take up a question, maybe a hard or a medium even, and you think over it for a week, find out like 10 different ways to maybe solve it, or two different ways, or even just one way to solve it if it takes a while, and then keep doing this, and do not I mean just keep doing this week over week. And this is going to be much more the persistence with this. If you are persistent with this, I think the results would be much more pronounced than any other kind of practice. I think just practicing 100 questions just before the test, it would be much more difficult instead of like persistence over time. And if you have something on your resume, just make sure you really know it, because they will always ask you, and you should always be very clear of the part that you've done in a project also. So make sure that you present it that way. But yeah, the skills from the skills side, yes, have your skills sharpened, uh, and all the basic data structures, algorithms, and OS. Yeah, those are the main things. I think, yeah, those would get you by most interviews in computer science and Google, of course, all of them.
Thanks for giving that amazing advice. Again, that would help a lot of students watching this video. And one point that I want to mention is like you mentioned in the start, like how you were like really surprised that you got like a 9.6 in the first year of college. And then you were like really surprised you got through those interviews at Amazon. So I think like it's not luck every time. So there's something that you have that helped you
So I
get
think
through
it's
all of
very
this.
important. I think through a student's life in 11 and 12, especially in India, you get this constant feedback that you have to get into IITs, and you have to perform in a particular on a particular level of expectation that you there's a level of expectation that you do meet for the family, for yourself. And I think that eventually maybe sometimes would break students, maybe sometimes would make them, but more often than not it breaks, because only some get into IIT. So I'd say to them that I think it's more important to believe in yourself. I just keep circling to the same point, but that is what that makes the entire difference, you know. So I think that is exactly as you mentioned. Surprises that I was getting over the time were actually were actually instances where I was building my belief core. You know, getting a 9 point, getting the Microsoft internship, getting the Amazon internship. That's exactly how you build belief over time, and you keep like working hard and you get it. I think yeah, all you need is to work hard and to believe yourself.
Okay. So, thank you so much, Ayush, for joining me today. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure talking to you as well.
Thank you.